Hello, my goddesses. It is Gwendolyn here, your high priestess over at the Temple of Venus. And I welcome you to the discussion today of how to master your emotional alchemy to attract your highest timeline. I love this. This was one of the inspirational parts of YouTube that came up, and I was like, oh my God, that sounds so good. So I decided to be a little bit more reflective on it and wanted to expand on these ideas of like what is a timeline and how to master yourself and use your emotion to change where you are right now currently so that you can manifest yourself in the best timeline possible. So I'm going to start off by saying, what if the thing blocking your timeline isn't external? So sometimes, well, a lot of times, a lot of people look outside of themselves for why their life isn't working well. And a lot of times it is something that's external. But in order for your life to grow and to move on and for you to do something, you have to check in with your inner fields, and make sure that your inner field matches your field of creation, which is outside of you, so that you can manifest your best self. You don't want to attract from want, the area of want. You want to attract from frequency. You want to build a frequency so that you can attract the life that you want. You can attract the things that you want, but it's all in energies and your alignment. And when you start looking at things from a perspective of energy, I think the world is a lot easier to understand. Um, when you start understanding that some people do not control their emotions, and when you notice that somebody doesn't control their emotions, you know that that person can be easily manipulated into doing things, right? And so emotional alchemy requires for you to be able to be aware of your emotions and transmute them. So a lot of times in people's inner field, it's heavy with unprocessed grief, abandonment, rejection, and disappointment. And that could be what you are broadcasting instead of aligning yourself with the things that you actually really, really, really want. So if we're talking about emotional alchemy, we're not talking about suppression or spiritual bypassing or pretending that everything is okay. Alchemy literally means transmutation, well, for me. So, sadness, if you feel sadness, it's not necessarily blocking you, it's the stagnation of your sadness that's blocking you. It is, if you feel grief, it's that stagnation period that's blocking you. And you have the right to take time to yourself to allow your body to grieve, to process the emotions, but you need a way to process the emotions instead of trying to bulldoze your way through it, because those emotions, once again, will show up someplace else. Grief that moves becomes wisdom. Grief that freezes becomes destiny. That's such a powerful statement, because the destiny can distort the timeline. So, what does that mean? That means that how you perceive the world when you've gone through your grief makes all the difference. So, I'll give you an example. When my father passed away, I wanted to start a business. And the reason why I wanted to start a business and how that correlates is I was so sad. I was so riddled with grief. And I every now and then I still cry and I still feel disappointed, but it made me realize that there is a life out there to be lived, and I am not limited in anything that I do. I am vast. And that's what his death and the grief taught me, is that like this is the time to live, because tomorrow is definitely not promised and you don't know when your last day is. And so love the people around you the most that you can. Dream your biggest dream and try to manifest it, and shoot for the stars. And that's where like the wisdom of grief came in. But I will tell you the truth. Grief, and when I was grieving at one point, I was stagnant. I was incredibly depressed, and I didn't move. There was no life to me at that point. So being mindful about what your emotional baggage, I will call it, is, and then navigating through that is really important. Um, Here is where things get cosmic. Every version of yourself already exists. And that is so true. It's called the string theory. It just says that every possibility that's out there already exists. And there are math formulas that prove this. I'm just not interested in the math formulas, even though I'm really good at math. I love the esoteric part of this, the knowledge of this, of what you can do with the given information. It's like applied science to me. Um, you already are all the things that you desire to be. You have to just resonate on that frequency to attract it to you. Who You are the woman that is chosen for the job, chosen for the relationship. You are financially secure. You already are emotionally regulated. You already live a soft life. You are already powerful. She exists as a vibrational probability. And if you are not her yet, it's because you are anchored in an older emotional identity. Keep in mind that our nervous system, at this point, if you're in this video, then your nervous system probably already feels a sense of abandonment. You already been in survival mode. You already had scarcity mindset and you've been chasing. But now you get to stop chasing and look internally. So even when opportunities appear, your body can contract if you're not aligned vibrationally with attracting those things into your life. And that when that happens, it kind of collapses the higher timeline and bring yourself back to the familiar one. Not because you're cursed, and it can feel like a curse, but because you're still stuck in that emotional frequency of whether it's abandonment or grief, and navigating that, trying to get out of that. Yes, it is hard. I'm not going to minimize that and say that it's not hard, but you have to start with thinking yourself into positivity. It has to start on that level. Um, so emotional alchemy requires that you enter a void. And what that might look like is you might enter into a season of loneliness. You might enter into a season of silence after disappointment when something that you thought was going to align didn't manifest itself. But the universe is always shifting for you. I want you to know that it is always going to move you to where you need to be and for you to exist as your highest self. Um, but what happens sometimes is when you enter into that void, instead of processing the void and navigating it, what we end up doing, and I'm guilty of this too, is we scroll, we send text message, we watch YouTube videos, we watch Netflix, we overwork ourselves, and the void is a portal. Um, I know that sometimes it can feel unbearable, but that's because your ego is starting to dissolve. The version of you that tolerated less, the version of you that chased, of you that believed love was inconsistent, the version of you cannot come with you. So the void starts to shed. And when it sheds, it's probably one of the most beautiful experiences that you're ever going to have. So even if you're in great sadness right now, even if you're navigating those really difficult emotions, I want you to know that like your time is coming. Allow your body to process, allow yourself to transmute, but begin the process by thinking positive thoughts. I know that that sounds insane and it sounds crazy, but you have to start doing it. And even if those negative thoughts come back, that's okay. You have to let your body know that there are other options of thoughts out there. And let's transmute our grief into our solar power. So grief is actually not darkness, because we've talked about darkness. Darkness is actually manifestation energy. It's a form of compressed light. So when you sit with it long enough, when you breathe through it, when you allow the emotion to complete itself, it can change its textures. Somewhat like heavy water becoming steam, steam then becoming expansion. And how you get to do all of that is that you have to name the emotion exactly what you're feeling. You have to call sadness sadness. You have to call grief grief. You have to call happiness happiness. You have to feel it without narration. Allow your body to process it. Allow all the crazy thoughts that come up to come out of you and go through your mind. And even though that's hard, giving your body the chance and the opportunity to feel is actually really good. If you look at people who've been through war, they don't really show like full sign of PTSD until after the war when their body is safe, but they need a place to process those emotions and allow for what their body experienced to have a safe place to like be able to perform it or to eject it. Like giving yourself and your body that time is so important. Then remove the story from it. That is probably the hardest part, because when you remove the story, what happens then to the identity? I would say remove the story and begin to tell your own story. I believe in delusion. I think that like a lot of people got where they were because they were delusional about who they are. Um, Not necessarily they were delusional about who they are. They knew who they were in their future self in a different timeline. And so because their current timeline, they hadn't caught up to themselves yet, they look delusional. But delusion is just your past self. Okay, so don't even worry about that. Breathe into your body. Make sure that you are taking time to take care of your mind. Move physically after processing. Definitely find ways to move your body. Like I go to the gym, I go for walks, but you need to change your environment to and keep yourself going. Emotion is energy in motion. If it doesn't move, it calcifies, and calcified emotions create repeated patterns. Sometimes your timeline collapses before it can expand. Like a relationship might end, plans might shift, money changes, illusions dissolve. It feels like loss, but often it's just correction. So, how do you know if something is collapsing for your highest good? How do you know that something is collapsing for your highest good? That is such a powerful question. Like, I think the universe will allow things to shift for you. Energetically, you will feel it. And you should ask yourself, like, who did I become afterwards? Who can I be after this situation? Can I be stronger? Will I be weaker? If the answer to your question is did if you shrank, then that was never your highest timeline. The soul does not align with contractions long term. It aligns with sovereignty. And divine sovereignty is emotional self governance. Love that line. It is feeling without drowning, wanting and you're not begging for it, building without burning, loving without abandoning yourself. It's not detachment, it's internal authority. And your own desires are never wrong. Desire is just guidance. It's not desperation, but it will help guide you to who you actually want to be. But when grief is unprocessed, desire feels like panic. When grief is alchemized, desire then becomes magnetism. Ooh, somebody, that was a word. That was a word. Okay, so I'm going to read that part again because I love that. When grief is unprocessed, desires becomes panic. When grief is alchemized, desire becomes magnetism. Um, Desire and reality align when your nervous system feels safe receiving. If deep down you believe love leaves, money's gonna disappear, success will isolate you, you can't have any friends, you will subconsciously sabotage good things. Emotional alchemy recalibrates safety. When your body feels safe, you don't have to change or cling to anything, and you won't even sabotage. You will instead receive. So, what are some ways that you can begin your emotional alchemy journey? So, 10 minutes of stillness daily, journaling what emotions actually present, moving your body after emotional release. And you can cry too, crying is valid. Stop narrating yourself as a victim because you are not a victim, you are a survivor, you are a mover and shaker. Speak to your future days, speak to your future self daily. Protect your inputs, raise your standards slowly, not dramatically. Alchemy is precision, not chaos. Because your future self is regulated, structured, magnetic, sovereign, soft, and firm. So you're going to start choosing, stop chasing, and align yourself. So, what I got from reading this with you guys, keep in mind that like what I do is I'll take some notes and then I put it into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT does such a great job of like organizing this, like they're like my own thoughts. And sometimes like I get some really good information from using ChatGPT. But if you would like to start a group, so we can all navigate these feelings and emotions together, definitely leave me a comment below. I'm thinking about starting one. But what I got from this is really emotional alchemy really sets the tone for your entire life. Like making sure that you're okay emotionally and navigating your emotions is so important. I have literally seen people not control their emotions and pay dire consequences for it. So you definitely want to do that. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And that is the end of the video. It was so nice talking to you guys. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Enjoy your day. Bye.